Are you serious? Are you serious? Well, folks, I'm very serious. You know, when you're dealing with prophecy, you look at biblical prophecy. That's what is found in the words of the Bible, where we study constantly to receive the fresh, powerful revelation and sometimes even witness the manifestation of the prophetic word. But I also stop sometimes to hear what some of the prophetic words were given, not only from the ancient prophets of the Bible, but even from some of the very prophetic voices of our own generation. In my book, Reflections from the Land of the Prophets, it's a powerful book that has over 100 pictures from Israel in it, color photos. But there's prophecies I decided to put in this book. 1973, several prophecies actually from David Wilkerson, a 90-year-old woman out of Norway, Dr. Lester Sumrall, some of the prophets of the Bible, I can't remember everybody I put in here. I put all kinds of folks. But there's George Washington's vision for America, just a lot of prophecies from different individuals, some from the Bible, some from today's, or at least modern era. But there's one here I want to read just part of it, and that's a vision by A.A. Allen. A.A. Allen was born in Sulphur Rock, Arkansas, back on March 27th, 1911. He held great crusades. Allen was a powerful evangelist, known as a faith healer, as thousands of people began coming to his revival tent meetings across America. It was late in A.A. Allen's life that he received a powerful vision from the Lord for America. Now, A.A. Allen began holding his tent revivals back in 1949. He launched a radio ministry as God was using him to lead many souls to Jesus Christ. The latter days of his life, he was given a prophetic revelation in reference to America. I'm going to post the prophecy, and I will warn you that this prophecy takes you down an extremely tense road as Reverend Allen saw it. And I'm going to read a part of it right now for you. Here's the vision, part of the vision from A.A. Allen. Then as I watched, another amazing thing was taking place. Far to the northwest, just over Alaska, a huge black cloud was arising. As it rose, it was as black as night. It seemed to be in the shape of a man's head. And as it continued to rise, I observed two light spots in the black cloud. It rose further, and a gaping hole appeared. And I could see that the black cloud was taking the shape of a skull. For now, the huge white gaping mouth was plainly visible. Finally, the head was complete. Then the shoulders began to appear, and on either side, long black arms. It seemed that I saw was the entire North American continent, spread out like a map upon the table, with its terrible skeleton form cloud arising from behind the table. It rose steadily until the form was visible down to the waist. And at the waist, the skeleton seemed to bend towards the United States, stretching forth a hand toward the east and one toward the west, one toward New York and one toward Seattle. And as the awful form stretched forward, I could see that the entire attention seemed to be focused upon the United States of America, overlooking Canada, at least for the time being. And as I saw the horrible black cloud in the form of a skeleton bending towards America, bending from the waist over, reaching down towards Chicago and out towards both coasts, I knew its one interest was to destroy the multitudes. And as I watched in horror, the black cloud stopped just above the Great Lakes region and turned its face towards New York City. Then out of the horrible, great gaping mouth began to appear a wisp of white vapor, which looked like smoke, as a cigarette smoker would blow puffs of smoke from his mouth. These whitish Vapors were being blown toward New York City. The smoke began to spread until it had covered all the eastern part of the United States. Then the skeleton turned to the west, and out of the horrible mouth and nostrils came another great puff of white smoke. This time it was blown in the direction of the West Coast. In a few moments of time, the entire West Coast and Los Angeles area was covered with its vapors. Then towards the center came a third great puff. As I watched, St. Louis and Kansas City were enveloped in white vapors. Then on it came towards New Orleans. Then on they swept until they reached the Statue of Liberty, where she stood staggering drunkenly in the blue waters of the Gulf. And as I watched, I wondered if the Statue of Liberty would ever be able to regain her feet, if she would ever stand again. And as I watched, it seemed that with all her power, she struggled to rise and finally staggered to her feet again and stood there swaying drunkenly. I felt sure that at any moment she would fall again, possibly never to rise. And I seemed overwhelmed with desire to reach out my hand to keep her head above water, for I knew that if she ever fell again, she would drown in the Gulf. This is a powerful vision by A.A. Allen. Now, there's several visions in here, like we said. Guys, I can tell you, guys like Dr. Lester Sumrall's visions in here for America. David Wilkerson's vision in here for America. A.A. Allen, I just read, a page and a half of this powerful vision of America, and I've been reflecting back on it the last few days with the things that are going on in our country and beginning to put the pieces together, realizing he received this vision late in his life. Matter of fact, Oral Roberts received late in his life a vision from the Lord to put these 80,000 Bibles in Petra for when the Jews have to flee, whenever they have to flee out of the West Bank and they got to run into the wilderness to hide, as it says they will do in Revelation 12. And since we've had the Revelation 12 sign, I've went back and I've reflected on these different modern day prophetic words from some of the greatest men and women in history that brought great revivals and restoration and spiritual renewal to our nation and around the world. So if you haven't gotten a copy of this book, I'm going to encourage you to do it, because I think it's time to read the visions that some of the forefathers of our faith have left behind. And it's remarkable when you read A.A. Allen's. What's happening right now, it's remarkable how that God had revealed it. And he always seems to do this in their last days. I keep waiting for Jack Van Impe to have a revelation from God. And I figure it's coming. He may have already received it and has written it down, just hasn't released it. I'm sure that Billy Graham as well, and others, as God speaks to those from so many years. But A.A. Allen's powerful. God bless all of you. Pray for America. Pray for this nation. Pray that liberty and freedom can stand until Christ returns. We have a responsibility to get the Great Commission out, the Word of God. We're in the last days.